What is up? This is Patriot Justice, and this is your boy Jon Know here with you today. Want to know why the opponents of capitalism are louder and more successful at imposing their ideas than the capitalists are at theirs? Want to know why capitalism is on the decline? Yeah, you do. Good. Because today, we're going to be talking about the truth about capitalism and why no one really seems to care or to be capable of defending it, despite its history of economic and social justice. Here we go. Capitalism. The system that everyone, including the communists, knows works. It's the system that even its supporters struggle to promote and defend. It's the system that turned the United States from a small and fledgling nation into the might and wonder of the world. It's the only system responsible for getting people out of poverty and keeping them out. It's the system responsible for all the stuff in your life that you can't live without. Your food, your car, your tech, you know, your iPhone that was invented by a capitalist that you use to tweet about how you feel the burn. And for all of this, it's the most hated economic system on the face of the earth. I'll just be straight up with you, since few else will. Capitalism is the only moral system, the only just system. It's the only sustainable system. You know, it's great to use the insincere and subversive language of the enemy, because then I get to mock them and talk to you about stuff that actually matters. So if capitalism is so great, why is it attacked on a daily basis and misunderstood by virtually everyone? The bottom line is that capitalism is attacked and has been so effectively smeared because the American culture and the West at large has been increasingly influenced by a morality that is anti-freedom, anti-individual, and anti-mind. Since capitalism is the only system that defends all three, this morality calls for its destruction. This morality is called altruism. The people who push it are many: Democrats, socialists, communists, democratic socialists, and many more. It's not very hard to identify these people. They're very open about their hatred for capitalism. This last part is also confirmation at just how deep their rotten ideas have spread throughout America. So if capitalism is so great and socialism and communism are so obviously bad, why does it seem like capitalism supporters are so weak to defend it? That's a very good question. And the answer to that is, capitalism is attacked because it doesn't have and desperately needs a moral base which the majority of its supporters are oblivious to and can't give it anyway. What do I mean? Well, it's like this. Most people don't believe this, or if they do, they stay very quiet about it. Due to social pressure, and especially now with how polarized this country is, they won't talk about it. But to be honest, even before all of the current aggression from the left, this subject was taboo anyways. But the reality is that it is moral and just and desirable to make money, and lots of it. It's not something to be embarrassed about or to condemn, but it is by many because of the moral code of altruism. This code says that you should sacrifice yourself for others, and that looking after yourself and your own interests is selfish, which is strongly and always implied to mean evil. The sweet little lie of this code and its peddlers is the belief that denying yourself is moral and right because society says that it's right, that everyone else and their needs should always come before your own, and that this is the way to happiness and the only correct way to live on earth. The truth of this code is that it breaks people down and teaches them to hate themselves and to regard their interests as evil. It tells them that it's okay, in essence, to be eaten alive, economically, spiritually, and sometimes literally, by any group who screams loud enough for their blood. This is how money is taken away from people, or rights, or lives. This code also teaches people to demand the same stuff from other people. and it gives them a moral sanction to do the very same thing to anyone else, provided that they are in a group large enough or politically strong enough to get away with it. This code straight up teaches people and gives them a moral sanction to become cannibals, sometimes devouring others, sometimes being devoured themselves. Anything goes, no holds barred. If the individual, yourself, is held as unimportant and disposable, then you believe that you have no right to exist for your own ends, and that others, regardless of who they are or whether they deserve it or not, will always be held more important than yourself, especially when money is concerned. And this is the problem with people who believe in the code of altruism, or as I call it, the code of sacrifice, and who yet also try to be capitalists. This is why so-called capitalists only seem to fight half-heartedly against any attempt against higher taxes, more federal debt, bailouts, or any other stupid, suicidal, and immoral government attempt at wealth redistribution. These people may believe in making money, but because of societal, cultural, or religious reasons, they also believe in the code of sacrifice 100%. And this causes an internal contradiction within themselves because of incompatible and competing beliefs. You cannot be someone who believes in the code of sacrifice and be a capitalist at the same time. They are conflicting and opposing philosophies and worldviews. One side will always show itself through your actions much more than the other. And since virtually everyone else in this world believes in this code and demands that it be followed, the so-called capitalist caves on almost every issue, every time. Understand, there is tremendous social pressure to conform to this code. Notice the fear. Very few have the strength to recognize it, let alone stand against it. This is why capitalism has lost so much popularity, and why it has so few true defenders, despite its excellent track record of being the only system that protects the individual. This same scenario just keeps being played out endlessly across the entire world, on scales very large and very small. The other problem that we are seeing in living color is that believing in this code of sacrifice leaves you highly susceptible and easily influenced by leftist ideas and propaganda. Well, of course they are. They've already been set up for it. If you believe that the individual is disposable, then the group is held as the all-powerful. And this is why these people tend to fall for socialism, communism, and environmentalism, which are all, not by coincidence, very popular today. The code of sacrifice, envy, and the desire for which you did not earn but want anyway, all come together to smear capitalism and capitalists in modern culture today. But what these poor fools don't realize is that their crusade for wealth redistribution and communism will end in disaster for themselves or for all of America, depending on how far they get with their evil ideas. Why? Because underneath their evil dogma and their unimpressive physiques, they are, and this they forget for obvious reasons, all individuals, fighting against the individual, using a code and a system that is specifically designed to destroy individuals. They are doomed to fail, but only if you value human life. If they succeed, they will destroy many lives and their own. The irony is that they talk about economic justice, but yet they are sworn enemies of capitalism. But what is it that we're really talking about here? What is capitalism? Trigger warning, this is going to sound a little different than what AOC or others like her tell you. I wonder why. Capitalism is a system of exchange, where something of value is exchanged for something else that has value. Usually, an exchange involves some type of currency and some type of good. When you see something in a store or online that you want to buy, you pull out your debit card and you swipe it on the machine, or you enter in your card information in the online store, and then you get the item that you wanted or needed. Every time you do something resembling what I just described, you are engaging in capitalism. Here's another example. You go to work and clock in. Then you do whatever it is that you agreed to do and are paid to do. then you clock out. Later, at some other point in time, you get paid. So you exchange your time and your skills for money. Every time you do something resembling what I just described, you are engaging in capitalism. When the time comes when you find your item in a store at a better price or of better quality than the one in the first store, and you buy that one instead, that's capitalism. When the time comes when you find a job that pays you more, either because this new business is better run or because your skills have improved, and you leave your current job for this new job, that's capitalism. In capitalism, there are many different variables at work. But as you can see from these examples, the most important ideas behind capitalism are property, which could be time, skills, money, or goods, and choice, which is freedom. The amount of money that you can make is determined by your talents, the quality of your work, and how much value you bring with both. Capitalism is the only just system because it protects you and your property, whether it's your money or your stuff, because no one can take from you what you have if you've already earned it. In this system, you're in control of your own success or your own failure. I call capitalism the only moral system because every single transaction is voluntary. You choose the people that you deal with as you see fit. No force allowed. Do you want a new car? Do you have the money? If yes, then it's yours. Want to make more money? Start a side hustle. If people believe that what you sell is good enough, then they'll buy it and you'll profit. It's as simple as that. I say that capitalism is the only sustainable system because it's the only system which protects your rights to your own property, your freedom, and your mind. You see, in order to live as humans, the integrity of all three must always remain intact, never to be violated. Once you lose any one of these, the decline of the country and the people begins. As people lose freedom, force used against them increases. As people lose property, others gain it by force. As people lose their minds, dictatorship sets in. We are seeing all of these happening right now in this very precarious time in America. Like I said before, the primary threat we are facing today is the loss of freedom. Capitalism is the system of freedom. Its enemies know this deep down, whatever they say, and this is why they want to destroy it. So now, let's talk about something that happened in Seattle that predictably went unnoticed. Most focus on the riots and the looting and the violence. Such a strange thing to happen for a summer of love, no? Well, that didn't seem to age too well, did it? Imagine being the stupid fool that said that. Anyways, I'm sure you heard of what happened earlier in the summer in Seattle in June with the Marxists who set up the chop zone in a section of the city. Around the same time, the city of Seattle held a segregated training indoctrination session for white employees on how to undo their whiteness. I know, the city of Seattle is obviously racist, but stay with me. The indoctrination session was aimed at introducing unsuspecting city employees into the commie cult of hate America and was called Interrupting Racial Superiority and Whiteness. Through a Freedom of Information request by a good American named Christopher Rufo, we were able to learn of this training, and we were also able to learn about their message. So as you would imagine, the message was one of city-sanctioned discrimination against a very specific group of people. But this video is about capitalism, not about leftist cities who voluntarily commit suicide. So for our purposes related to this video's topic, something was told to the city employees that was very interesting and very telling. Apparently, during the training, the participants were told that objectivity, individualism, intellectualism, and comfort are all vestiges of internalized racial oppression. So now you may ask, what does this Seattle indoctrination for their city employees have to do with capitalism? Listen very closely to these words again and think about what they mean. Objectivity, individualism, intellectualism, comfort. And these they call racial oppression. They are not. but they are the defining characteristics of capitalism. Not by coincidence, these are some of the defining characteristics of America. If they openly proclaim their hatred for these ideas, then it's safe to conclude that they stand for their opposites. And these are subjectivity, collectivism, emotionalism, despair. This is where your wealth equality will lead. These are the defining characteristics of communism, the real communism. They are literally demanding that you give up all of the good so that you live in evil. They are literally telling you that their ideal is human suffering. So of course they loot and they riot. Their choice of targets, the stores, the nice neighborhoods, these are not by accident. Remember, they are trained Marxists. They are targeting these places because they are the product of capitalism. They represent America. They represent success. And this they can't stand. Let me be very clear. Ideas are extremely powerful. They literally shape our world. When people believe in good ideas, the world is safe and at peace. But when people believe in bad ideas, there is despair and destruction. This is what we are seeing right now in this country. When you have come to believe, as these fools in Seattle and elsewhere have, that thinking is oppressive and that the individual is disposable, watch out. Because once you throw these away, there will always be violence. If they destroy capitalism, they destroy America. If one falls, so must the other. America as we know it was made by capitalism. What will end up happening if these people get their way is this. All of the things that are responsible for all of the good in life, all the discoveries, all of the inventions, all of the good and noble ideas and the values that created them, all of it will be labeled as evil and will be destroyed. The people who hate capitalism always end up hating America for the same reasons. Despite their screeching and moral preening, they are not here to help anyone or to save anything. And they are most certainly not your friends, no matter who you are. They do not have your best interest in mind because they've stopped using theirs. Ignore the loser. Instead, do this. Think for yourself. Value your mind and what it can do. Don't give it away to be destroyed by the mob. Resist the urge to dumb yourself down and to give in to pressure from your friends if you find that they support any of the toxic and stupid ideas that we've talked about here today. You may win them over, but that little twinge that you feel as you tell them what you think they want to hear, that's you killing your integrity. They may not know it, but you will. It's up to you. Above all, don't become the mob. Don't become one of them. Because to be one of them, it's such a waste of a life. Because deep down, the enemies of capitalism, the enemies of America, all believe the same terrible thing, whether they know it or not. And that thing, it's fast becoming impossible for any of them to hide any longer. That thing is, we hate this world and all the good in it, and we want it destroyed. Remember this video the next time they throw another tantrum. Turn on your TV and watch the violence and the destruction. Find a way to read and listen to the words of the little killers without the fake news, lies by omission, and propaganda. If you're still on their side afterwards, I'm afraid you're too far gone to be saved. I'll pray for you. I'm Jon Know, and this is Patriot's Justice. That's all for now. We'll talk again soon.